Expo Indonesia for day 2. I'm delighted to host our first panel discussion of the day, focused on AI, 5G, and cloud, building smart cities and urban development for the future. I am joined today by our distinguished panelists, Arif Setiawan, who is CTO at Asian Bulk Logistics, where he is responsible for developing technology platforms across the organization. He's previously served across sectors and leadership roles, including as Deputy Head of HR Operations at Sinar Mas Mining, Vice President Enterprise Resource Planning at Kereta Api Indonesia, and as GM Sales and Solution at Sigma Metrosys Solution. Thank you for joining us. Also joining us is Pak Rama Raditya, Director of Innovation Technology and Service at Transjakarta. Rama is focused on public transportation operating across the greater Jakarta area, as I'm sure you're all very much aware, and building out Transjakarta's digital transformation efforts, specifically involved in the Transjakarta app, which offers real-time bus tracking and other advanced features. Last but not least, Stefanus Henry Julianto joins us as Chief Information Officer from Sinar Mas Land, and he has more than 25 years experience in information technology with significant roles in business and process development. And welcome to all. So I think we could do well to start with a bit of a reality check. We're sitting here in Jakarta, a city of more than 30 million people in the area, the metropolitan area. But beyond Jakarta and all of its infrastructure and logistical challenges, we live in a country with 17,000 islands that are separated by strong currents and dotted with active volcanoes. And over the last 80 years, we've done well to address so many infrastructure challenges, but we still have remaining infrastructure challenges in development when it comes to digital with AI, 5G, and cloud. So I'd like to talk a little bit first about some of the successes we've had in digital implementation when it comes to AI. And Pat Stefanus, maybe we can start with you. When we spoke previously, you mentioned some use cases, 4 use cases that you have, that you're rolling out across some of these smart townships that you're building with Sinar Mas Land. Would you like to go ahead and walk us through those?
Selamat pagi Bapak Ibu. Yes, Tom, thank you so much. So basically, as we all know, when Tom mentioned regarding Greater Jakarta, so we can't forget about BSD City is one of the suburbs on the west part of Jakarta, and BSD City is the biggest township that we have in Sinar Mas Land. Of course, beside all other townships that spreading around Indonesia, right? So we always take BSD City as our flagship and our trial location for many technology implementation. And one of it is the Smart City initiative, right? So our group CEO, Michael Wijaya, always have the aim that how we can build our township in a more smart way to bring or to increase the customer experience and satisfaction, and to manage township more efficient. Several mentioned about the 4 use cases that we currently developed for the last 2 years is the automatic traffic control system. You know, when you come to the BSD City in several junctions, the traffic control system actually already equipped with the CCTV camera and the AI capability to arrange the length of the red and green light along with the number of the crowd or the car in each section. Right? That's one. The second is we managed to have the wastewater drainage management system to avoid or to prevent any flood. I know you will comment that lately there are a heavy rain and some part of Serpong, including BSD City, have some flood as well. But in some other part, because we have west side and east side of BSD City, so the implementation of the wastewater management system just cover the west part of the BSD City. The third one is a smart parking. When you enter the BSD City, there are some information where any available parking in a specific building that every visitor can go there. And the last and not least is the smart security. to monitor crowd management, illegal parking, and wrong way of traffic and so on. So those are 4 use cases that currently implementing, and we are monitoring how to scale it up.
Great, thank you very much. That's a good look at some of these smart city solutions that are currently being implemented by CNR Mass Land. And we can shift gears and look at technology that's being implemented in a different environment, which is in maritime logistics. Arif, I'm curious if you could explain some of the initiatives that you've been implementing at Asian Logistics.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom. So my experience in my company actually is not as flashy as past Stefanos, of course. We are, as you can say, maybe we are the kuli panggul of mining companies, if you can say. Sorry, I'm doing this gado-gado campur English and Indonesia. So we're the kuli panggul of mining companies. We carry coal, usually bauxite, nickel, from the mining side and carry it to the bulk carriers. Now, this is a very traditional industry, consists of very traditional people, but we need to stay updated with technology in order to be relevant. We are competing with a lot of companies in this area, and then we have to stay on top of them. One of the implementation that we've done actually to utilize AI is actually the Captain Eyes. It's called Captain Eyes. We're using the term Captain Eyes because it's actually extending the eye of the captain 24 hours, 7 days a week, because they can monitor what's happening actually within the ship by using AI. So if there's someone who's not using safety equipment, for example, in an area where they should be wearing one, then the captain will be notified. If, for example, there's a fire or there's a smoke coming out of the engine room, then the captain will also be notified 24 hours, 7 days a week. Previously, the captain have to go around, or even we initially have CCTVs installed in those areas, but the captain cannot have the 24 hours, 7 days a week watching on those areas. So we have replaced this with the video analytics, with the AI to actually improve the safety of our operations by notifying whatever is necessary that to be notified to the captain immediately by using AI. Another one also is actually the predictive maintenance that we're doing. We are monitoring right now the condition of the engine using IoT and analyze the data based on the standard manufacturers using AI. So if, for example, the oil viscosity goes lower than it's supposed to be, or there's a contaminant within the oil, then all respective party, the engineers, the head office even will be notified, and it's easy to actually calculate later on the benefit from that one. Last but not least, we have the AI crane camera. We have a very sensitive operation. So basically, in our ship, we have big cranes like you see when companies build buildings. So those kind of big cranes is operated by people on top of the cranes. If they get tired, if they get fatigued, sleepy, or something, this can easily create a disaster. So we prevent that by using a camera actually to monitor the awareness, the alertness of the operator, make sure that they are not sleepy. If there is, then there will be a notification, there will be an alarm to actually intervene with the situation and also alert the respective party. So again, I myself consider that this is quite an achievement for a traditional company, for a kuli panggul to actually be able to implement AI and do stuff.
That's interesting. It's particularly interesting that you are able to use the existing CCTV infrastructure rather than installing a system of sensors to try to detect one problem, which might be smoke. You can use computer vision to detect a wide array of problems with the existing physical infrastructure. Maybe on that note of infrastructure and logistics, we can turn to Transjakarta, to Pak Rama. I'm curious, with the scale of Transjakarta's operations, which AI applications are you most excited about implementing?
All right. Thank you, Tom. Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation from World AI Show. In Transjakarta, right now, we are operating 5,200 buses. We're working with 22 operators at the moment, but we also have buses that we also operate ourselves, so about 900 buses that we operate ourselves. When I joined Transjakarta about 1.5 years ago, my mission was to actually move our citizens in Jakarta from private transport to public transport. Because since I was a kid, I'm always curious of why the traffic is always happening in our city. So when I joined, that's my mission. And I believe that with digitalization, so with AI, we can actually make that happen. First, when I joined, we have about 1 million riderships every day. where today we have about 1.5, 1.6 within 1 year. So that is basically using digitalizations. Before we have right now we have two platforms that we develop. Number one is the system to manage the bus operations. The other one is the app for the citizens. Right now the app is already deployed. We have about 1 million users. Basically, if you download the TJ app, you can see all the bus tracking and everything in there. You can see ETA and trip planning. But for the command center part, we have a bus management operational system where this platform basically powered by AI. So we use computer vision, one quite similar with what were explained before. For the drivers, we have the fatigue detections. So whenever they get tired, whenever they're not wearing seatbelts or smoking, it will send alert. So those alerts will be sent to our command center in order for us to make a ranking. So which drivers are actually the one that is more not disciplined and which one is actually the most performance. But also not only for the monitoring but for the planning. So from planning from the day one and from the early morning. Planning before was quite manual. So it was using like intuition, right? Or maybe for corridor one, we deploy 12 buses. Corridor two, we deploy like 10 buses. Right now, based on computer vision, we're using people counting to detect each terminals as well as from the buses. Those historical data will be used by our system for recommendation engine to perform like scheduling and everything automatic. So from then, it will be automatically dispatched to the OBU or onboard unit in each bus, where they will dispatch. Okay, this driver will have to go to this bus and so on. So based on that, everything is much more efficient. So back in the days you normally see like empty bus stations with empty buses coming in, but nowadays it's more efficient. That way, we managed to reduce and potentially further reduce the subsidy that's given by the Jakarta government, because Jakarta is basically owned by the Jakarta government. That way, there is a huge cost efficiency that we manage to reduce using data.
Fantastic. Getting people to work on time and reducing traffic can have a meaningful impact on the economy of the city and the country. So thank you for your work there. Speaking of outcomes, I'm curious to talk about maybe some measures of success. How do we gauge if a particular AI implementation has been successful or not? Obviously, logistics and infrastructure and transportation are going to have different metrics of success and different challenges to presenting metrics of success. Perhaps first, I would call on Pak Arif. When we spoke earlier, you mentioned some pretty impressive numbers in terms of ROI for some of these systems. I'm curious if you'd like to elaborate on that.
Okay. So I'm going to share maybe about some of the implementation that we've done that will have benefits actually concretely. In my case, it's very easy actually to evaluate the result or the benefit that we get from the implementation itself, because safety is in our culture. It's the basic of our operations. Why? It's because if there's anything happens within the ship, then it will be the cost of maintenance, the cost of fixing the defect, it will be huge. It will also means that we have a loss of opportunity, because fixing a ship, if there's anything wrong, it could take 3 months, at least 6 months at least, and that cost will reflect the revenue, of course, because we have a very limited assets. So, for example, we have, as I mentioned before, we have what we call the AI predictive maintenance. It will calculate the quality of the oil, just in case if there's any contaminants, debris, or anything within the oil that goes below the threshold, above the threshold of the limited allowed. This can cause actually an engine problem. Originally, before the AI implementation, we have to manually measure the quality of the oil every 4 months. Every 4 months, a sample of the oil will be taken, and then during the process, it will be sent to lab to check if the quality of the oil is still good or not. If it is still good, then the ship can start operating it. The waiting time for this checking and everything, because the lab is in Jakarta area, it's more in the main city, while we operate actually in a remote site, it might take 2 weeks. Those 2 weeks operating time that our ship have to wait until the final result of the lab check is completed, cost us around 1.3 billion easily. So those costs will not happen if we can check, we can measure the quality of the oil in real time and measure it according to the actual manufacturer's standard. So then we implement the system. We have an AI to actually check the oil, we have the sensors to read the data, and then send it to AI and make sure that it's according to the regulations and according to the standard that we already have. It doesn't need the machine to stop because the result can be obtained immediately. At instant in real time, you will get the result. So those 2 weeks waiting time, it's not required anymore. By doing that, we actually save 1.3 billion. While the implementation of the sensors, the AI system, and everything, it's only 700 billion. So it's easy to calculate the ROI in my case, in our case. Again, in safety, if there's anything, like I mentioned, the AI crane operator, if the operator is sleepy and then accidentally hit something with the crane, the cost will be huge to fix it. The time will be very long to actually fix it. So saving us from those kind of things by using a system in AI is definitely providing the company with a huge amount of ROI right now.
Thank you. That's really good. In capital-intensive industries like infrastructure development, logistics, transportation, any downtime, accidents, repairs are hugely costly to the company. So those are quite easily measured results. When we come to the other two industries, maybe it's a little bit more difficult, where you have to have different metrics for success. I'll turn to Stephanus at Senior Mass Land. Your smart city initiatives span traffic management, wastewater monitoring, smart parking, smart security. I'm curious what metrics you use for success and maybe what wins have you been able to demonstrate for stakeholders?
Yeah, I think thanks Tom for the question. It's not easy to answer the question, right? But allow me to jump to another sample outside of the smart city, because what Arif said about the safety, security, and how to improve the efficiency. We have another case when we built a building just recently launched is our biomedical campus in special economic zone, when we deploy also the smart building there. When we deploy the smart building with all the IoT and sensor, similar with Arif, it's easier to measure because we can reduce or lower down the maintenance costs. We can deploy the preventive maintenance, etc. But when we go to the smart city, it's a bit difficult to measure the tangible benefit.
Like property value, for example.
Exactly. Because we cannot say to our potential customer, because when we deploy a smart city facility in our township, then easily we can increase our sales price. Maybe people don't care. They always want to find the more competitive property price, no matter in the smart city environment or not smart city environment. However, there are a lot of intangible benefit, of course, we can gain from the implementation of the technology, including the AI, IoT, and in the smart city, right? As I mentioned earlier, we can bring a better customer experience, customer satisfaction, to reduce the traffic from one location to another location, and so on, and to reduce the possibility of flood when the heavy rain season comes, to have a proper crowd management, and so on and so on. And all of those is mostly on the intangible benefit. And along with that, of course, it will impact or give a positive impact to the company image, right? To the company image. So those are the things that usually what we use to. We are able to show some demographic. We are able to show some traffic situation. We are able to show any data that we have. Of course, not only smart city data that we have. We can also show some parking lot availability. We can have some traffic congestion in the weekend, in the weekday, and so on and so on. Those are the things that we can collaborate with all other data that we have as a new way to monetize. But there will be another one. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that. I can see an indicator that we are out of time. So unfortunately, we'll have to close this panel discussion. I thank you all for your kind attention, for the question as well. Thank you to our esteemed panelists as well. And I hope we can do this again in the future. Thank you very much.